All right, welcome back to the Virtue Bowling Supply YouTube channel. My name is Chris, and I'm here to bring you guys the high rev perspective.
And my name is Josh, and I'll be bringing the low rev perspective.
Today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new MOTIV Sigma Tour Pearl, and I'm going to be comparing that to the MOTIV Venom Hysteria and the Storm Next Factor.
And I'll be comparing it to the Storm Rocket AI and the Brunswick Crown Victory. These comparisons will give us and you an idea of what these pieces look like going down the lane. At the end, we will give our honest, unbiased review anywhere from nuts to trash. With that being said, we are here at Mesa East on a fresh house shot, so make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys out on the lanes.
When I heard that there was a tour style MOTIV ball coming out, I wasn't really sure what to expect. Just hearing that it was just going to be super lazy, just because of like the characteristics of MOTIV balls being a little more arcy and slow, and having that tour style that wants to be even smoother and more forward typically. But honestly, going down the lane, it almost was completely different. I felt like it wanted to continue way more than I expected. Even the shots that I thought saw friction early and kind of checked, it still wanted to get down lane and retain energy and go through the pins. Like, I think the only ball that deflected was one that I really got in the oil, and it never quite slowed down, so it deflected. Any of the ones that I got to the friction, saw friction, made the corner, and continued every single time. So that was really surprising to me, and I honestly really liked the ball motion. Now I'm gonna go ahead and throw the MOTIV Venom Hysteria and see how that compares. All right, so to me, these actually feel pretty close. I do think the Venom Hysteria is a little quicker to friction. Both have a pretty similar, like, stronger-ish shape off the end of the pattern. You can tell when I get it to the friction a little earlier with the Venom Hysteria, it made the corner wanted to go. The Sigma Tour wanted to see it, but it also felt a little bit more arcy and retained energy a little bit more. The Venom Hysteria had that more hook set ball reaction, and to me wasn't quite as continuous as the Sigma Tour Pearl, but still a really decent reaction off the end of the pattern. So now I'm gonna go ahead and throw the Storm Next Factor and see how that compares. All right, after seeing the Next Factor go down the lane, even though this is a asymmetric ball, I feel like these are fairly close. The Next Factor being on the weaker end of asymmetric bowling balls, I feel like it has more of that tour style reaction to me. So I was kind of curious to see how these would complement each other. To me, I feel like the Next Factor wanted to even float a little bit more down the lane. It definitely was a little quicker, even though it's a fairly smooth reaction for me. It was definitely a little quicker than the Sigma Tour, and I think the Sigma Tour continued quite a bit more than the Next Factor. So to me, I liked the reaction of the Sigma Tour Pearl a little bit more. I think I had better misses both directions. The Sigma Tour Pearl, one of the ones that I got in the oil, didn't quite slow down, and the Next Factor had a little bit more teeth as far as like core goes, and it wanted to retain a little bit more, but these are honestly pretty close. Final thoughts on the Sigma Tour Pearl. To me, this definitely outperformed expectations. I really wasn't sure, especially on the house shot, how that tour style reaction was gonna look. But for me, with how continuous this looked and having misses in both directions, I feel like this ball, I think it fits somewhere in the nuts or fire category. Honestly, with how much it overperformed expectations for me, I think I'm gonna put it to the nuts category. I think this ball is gonna be really good, especially if it looks good on house. I think this one, honestly, with that tour style, is gonna look pretty good on patterns as well. It's clean, but not super clean, and it's strong enough off the end of the pattern that it's not sideways, but it still wants to retain energy and continue. So I think that's just a recipe for really good ball reaction, a lot of good scores.
For me, this ball was definitely one I think I'm going to end up keeping. I do feel like this ball was really smooth, yet it still had a quickness to it, which I haven't really quite seen out of MOTIV stuff. I've seen some quicker stuff, but this one just was a ball that I honestly haven't really seen from any brand. I feel like it kind of reminds me of like a weaker Zen, but even then it still has like a smoother tameness to it off of friction, and I felt like it was really predictable, still got off of oil, which actually shocked me. So for how kind of clean it felt, but it still wanted to hook in that zone, which I absolutely loved. And I felt like I had misroom in both directions, which hadn't really had that with any other ball today. So now we're gonna go ahead and throw 5 shots with the Rocket AI and see how it compares. This ball for me was somewhat close, but I definitely felt like it was a little quicker to friction. You could see for me when I missed in, it just wasn't, it skidded way down the lane a little too far, and when I got it to the friction, it just overhooked. So I felt like overall this ball was a similar type of ball to be throwing, like you'd be throwing both of these balls at the same time, but I just felt like the Rocket is definitely a quicker shape and just a little bit more what I call friction boosted. You know, it needs that friction in order to shape through the pins the correct way. So now we're gonna go ahead and throw 5 shots with the original Crown Victory. For me, this is definitely one of my steady eddies, my go-tos, my reliable. This ball, however, does have quite a few games on it, which I do understand, but overall, it wasn't that far off from the Sigma Tour Pearl, maybe like 2 or 3 boards, but it still had that kind of smooth shape to it, but definitely cleaner. But you could still see how they were kind of similar in the fact of like how they reacted to friction was very slow in a good way, very smooth and controllable, versus like, again, like the Rocket, you could just see how much quicker it was. So definitely just being aware of, you know, the difficulty of the pattern as to when to throw something like this. But this Crown Victory for me would definitely be a step down from the Sigma. It'd be a ball I'd go to once the Sigma's just a little too strong. Final thoughts on the Sigma Tour Pearl. For me, this ball definitely blew my expectation. I felt like this ball was going to be a little cleaner and quicker, and it was still clean but smooth, and I just really liked the way it shaped. So overall, this one was a little tough because I almost pushed it into a different category, but I'm going to put it at a fire. I felt like I just needed a couple more strikes to give it that nuts, but overall, like, it still felt like a nuts reaction. I just wasn't up to par with my shot making and personally. But overall, I felt like this ball is going to find its way into my bag, and really I'm curious to see what it does with surface, because I think hitting it with just a little bit of surface for me would blend the bag a little bit easier. I'm really looking forward to throwing this ball more.
Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video useful, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.